I feel like I have a lot of thought baggage, but really it comes down to if I feel like I learn how to love myself unconditionally, that all these other things will come about.
Well, we don't disagree with that at all, but there is a simpler way of going about it. Does it make sense to you when we talk about the existence of your inner being?
Yes.
And does it make sense to you that when you feel positive emotion, that means that the opinion of your inner being and the opinion of you are the same thing at the same time? That's really the most important thing that we want to convey to you, that your emotions, the emotion that you feel, is all about your alignment or not.
Yes.
It's all about you being in the receptive mode where the fullness of who you are is flowing through you.
Yes.
So the ultimate connection to that source energy, better said, the ultimate indication of that connection to that source energy, is when you are having one of those loving feeling moments where whatever you're holding as your object of attention has you just oozing that feeling of love and appreciation.
Yes.
So when you feel that way, you're in sync with source, and it doesn't matter if the subject of attention is yourself or the subject of attention is someone else. So it's not self-love that is so critical, it's love. And maybe it's easier for you to just focus on other things that you love for a little while until you get your love juices flowing. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
Most people have practiced being critical about themselves, and the reason that you have is because so many other people, well-meaning in many cases, have held you as their object of attention, needing you to be different than you are so that they can feel better. And so you've learned to not think that you're standing in a good place. We want you to feel the love that is raining down all around you, but you have to at least be in a neutral zone so that you can feel it. And so we usually say to someone, start with things that are easier. One day Jerry said to Esther, because he was carrying on in some way and she was thinking that he should be doing something differently than he was doing, and she was irritated with him. Didn't happen very often, but it was happening then. And Jerry said to Esther, I wish that you would pretend like I'm Kate, because granddaughter Kate, Esther never felt negative emotion about her. In other words, it was so easy to love Kate. And Esther wanted to argue with Jerry, when you're as good as Kate is, I'll feel that way about you. But what Jerry was saying to her is, he wanted Esther to feel better, and he didn't care what her subject needed to be in order for her to feel better. So you just can't look out into the world at something that doesn't set right with you and hold your attention on it and connect with source energy, even if that someone or something is yourself. So let's start by saying to you, do you think you could start by saying, does it even feel possible for you to say, it's all right for me not to like myself? It's all right for me to disapprove of where I'm at, or it's all right for me to disapprove of what I've done or who I've been. That's all right for me because that's contrast. But still, no matter what my subject of attention is, when I get crossways of source, I'm not going to feel good. So what does that mean that source is feeling about you when you're feeling negative about you? What's the message? When you feel negative emotion, what does it always mean?
It means that I'm not aligned.
It does mean that. What else does it mean? It means that source sees this differently than you are. So when you're down on yourself and feeling bad, what does that mean? Do you know? Oh, hear this. You couldn't even know what negative emotion was if source didn't love you so much.
No, it's contrast.
Accept that, or at least try to hear it a little bit. If you're really getting what we're giving you here, that the way source feels about you is so powerful, so pervasive, so constant, so steady, so raining down on you, and when you find some nitpicking, squirrely opinion from somebody else that taught it to you, and you're focusing in that way about yourself, and you feel negative emotion, next time that happens, say, Source must really love me a lot because I'm really down on myself today. We're not kidding.
Maybe I don't feel worthy of that.
It's the same thing. But what is worthiness? You see, worthiness is the receptive mode, period. Because it's always there. It's always being offered to you. In other words, the revelation is there. You've got to get in the receiving mode about it. And the thing about this conditional life that so many of you have been living is that you look at what is and you come to erroneous, inaccurate conclusions when the emotion that you're feeling is the evidence all along. If you want to, give us a scenario where you're not loving yourself, or just try to describe to us a little bit what that not loving yourself feels like.
I'm very critical of myself when I suffer from depression for a long time.
That's all right, blah, blah, blah. And we're not making light of it, but we don't want to talk around it. We want to talk right to the heart of it. So what did you say right before you said I suffer from depression?
Right before I said that, about being unworthy.
So you feel unworthy. How does it play out in a moment?
I call myself names. Say I do, I muck something up in the workshop, and I take it very personally. Like it's
pretty interesting. Here you are. Here you are. Here you are.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
I knew I would be here.
So, would you say that when you're down on yourself, that the way you got there was by comparing yourself to someone else, or by comparing yourself to desires or dreams that you have that aren't fulfilled?
Yes.
So it's about not yet
becoming who I'm supposed to be, or
right,
I don't know who I'm supposed to be.
But stop for just a moment. Meaning, I don't have the money I should have, I don't have the assets I should have, I don't have the... What are you talking about? I don't have the success?
No, those things, like, they were worrying to me, but they're just way off the track.
So what is it? So what is it? So what is it?
It's my, how I feel about myself.
Oh, we are so happy to hear that, because what that means, that's what we've been talking about.
My feelings are important to me.
But you see, this is so good, because what we were just saying to you is, you're not going to get the $10 million today, probably, and you're not going to find the that or the that or the that today, but you can find in this moment, or in the next moment, or in the next moment, or in 5 minutes, or in 10 minutes, you can find that feeling of love if you start with the premises that we are giving you here. So we're just going to lead you through a series of questions until you feel what we're talking about. Do you believe that you are an extension of source energy?
Yes.
And do you believe that source energy has an opinion about you?
I hadn't thought about that.
Well, that is really important to understand. And so we're just going to say it again. You couldn't feel negative emotion if source wasn't appreciating you so much. If there wasn't the presence of something that you were denying, you wouldn't feel the denial. Can you hear that? If there were not a strong current calling you toward the love and appreciation that we all have for you, then you're not going, you wouldn't feel it. If somebody called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you that I'm never going to call you again, you'd say, all right, okay, bye. But if someone that you really care about said that to you, you'd feel the discord. In other words, if the love of source were not there for you constantly, then your opposing thought wouldn't hurt so much, which means your opposing thought is validation of the love source has for you.
Yes.
So now you know that. Now you just talk yourself into the uncondition of feeling that. And you just take greater notice. When you're feeling good, just revel in it just a little longer. Just try to sustain those vibrations a little more. When you have an idea that flows to you and it feels really good, acknowledge that and smile about it and feel happy for having been in the receptive mode. Consciously acknowledge, oh, I must have been in the receptive mode. Watch how many things are turning out well for you on a daily basis. We're not talking about the big things. We're talking about the all things. Just notice how many things are working out for you. Things are working out for me. I am known. I am understood. I am seen. I am important. I am on the leading edge. I am a vessel through which source flows. I can feel when I let that happen, and I can feel when I pinch it off. And the thing that we want you to hear is that when you pinch it off, it doesn't stop flowing. In fact, if it stopped flowing when you pinched it off, you'd feel better. But it doesn't. It doesn't stop flowing because source is not going to change opinion about how wonderful you are. Say, oh, if you could just catch a glimpse of the important role, is not quite the right word, that you play in the eternal expansion of this universe, you would never have a negative feeling about yourself or anyone else ever again. If you could just catch a glimpse of how good it is that you are here actually giving birth to the more and then lining up with it for its full glorious becoming. But humans have been practicing for quite a while your bogus inferiority, and your comparison to each other isn't helping. So really the big picture is stop caring about how humans reflect back to you, because they're fickle, and start caring a lot about how you're jiving with how source feels about you, and it won't be long before you're standing there stable.
Really?
It won't be long before you're standing there stable. And someone could be actually feeling disapproval of you, and you would know it's just their disconnection. It's just somebody not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, holding me as their object of attention, needing me to do something different so that they can feel better. And I might even do it because I want them to feel better, but I don't really want to incapacitate them in that way any longer. I would like them to know what I've come to know. Hey, you could feel better right now if you just stopped looking at me who's bothering you. And I honestly don't think I can do enough right now, this red hot minute, to change myself enough to make it all right for you. So maybe you'd like to look away. Look away. And that's what you want to do for yourself too. You want to look away at those bogus flaws that you've been finding. Those aren't flaws. Those are step one moments. Those are questions that bring answers, and those are problems that bring solutions. But what they all are motion forward, motion forward. You see, we'd like to help you to just fast forward a little bit from this feeling of not enoughness and acknowledge those moments when you are tuned in and riding the current of source's awareness of you. There is so much for you, but if you're not in the receptive mode, you can't find it. If you're not in the receptive mode of that, then what you find is what you are in the receptive mode of. And so that's really the thing. And there is so much for you, but if you're not in the receptive mode, you can't find it. If you're not in the receptive mode of that, then what you find is what you are in the receptive mode of. And so that's really the thing that we want to impart to you, is that the way you feel isn't about what you deserve. It's only about what you're focused upon now.